The field comes out at Oran Park in New South Wales for round 2, leg 1, over 12 laps of the 2.6 kilometre Grand Prix circuit. And on pole position is the man who equally leads the Swann Insurance Series on 27 points, Wayne Gardner on the Honda RS 500. Beside him on the front row is the Englishman Rob McElnay on the Suzuki 500. Then the find of the series, Glenn Middlemas, the quiet Australian on the Suzuki 500. Beside him, the noisier Australian Andrew Johnson, the man who so desperately wants to win this Swann Insurance Series to cap his career. And then on the Yamaha TZ750, a bike which could be a real surprise here, is Michael Dowson. The field now in the starter's hand, in readiness, and they're racing a huge start from Rod Cox at the back of the field on bike 14 on the superbike, and he takes over the lead.
And Wayne Gardner once again gets an absolutely disastrous start as AJ Johnson goes into the lead with Middlemas slipping into second.
Then it's Rod Cox on the superbike in third position, and he slips down into second.
But Dowson already takes second on the TZ750 Yamaha, all sorted out at the first corner with Johnson leading Dowson. And Phyllis, number 32, coming through the field to take up third from Cox.
John Pace on P also in contention.
And McElnay in about 6th place, just behind Middlemas. But where is Gardner? A terrible start. 7th place, Wayne Gardner, already making his way up through the field, and he's a couple of places behind McElnay.
Keep in mind that last weekend Wayne Gardner dropped back further than 10th position and then came from further behind than Andrew Peacock to win the race.
And it's already Gardner on McElnay's tail as they chase Middlemas. But Johnson leads, Dowson, Phyllis.
First lap almost over, and Andrew Johnson is opening the lead that he's going to need to give himself a buffer on the hard-charging McElnay and Gardner later in the event.
And Phyllis up into second from Dowson.
1.07 seconds is the gap between Johnson and second position.
And McElnay sweeps past Cox to take fourth. And Gardner putting Cox under tremendous pressure. But there's Johnson, and it's a fantastic ride from Phyllis on the Action Suzuki. This Formula One bike, 1,000 cc's, tremendous drive from number 32, but Johnson leads, but Phyllis is closing on him.
Phyllis makes the point that it's not actually a Pucker Formula One bike. In fact, it's almost an illegal superbike. That is, it's much heavier and less sophisticated than a true Formula One machine.
And Gardner still battling to try and get past Cox as we watch number 7, Johnson, and Phyllis pulling away from Dowson, and McElnay in the good 4th place. And Gardner still can't get past Cox and is only just holding out Middlemas.
And in the commentary position with us at the moment is the man who should be defending his 1983 Swann Insurance victory, Malcolm Campbell. Malcolm, why are you here instead of out there?
It's a good question, that. I'd love to be out here. If I get a bit excited, you'll know, you really realise I want to be there, but I'm not. So we'll have to watch it from here.
And Dowson got a big shake on the 750 Yamaha as he tried to pull the power on, and McElnay got past, but Gardner now has swept past Cox, and Middlemas follows him through. So as McElnay dives for the inside to go past Middlemas, to go past Dowson, Gardner and Middlemas making their way up to challenge. Oh, and somebody's down.
Johnson's in the lead. He's been hard challenged by Rob Phyllis, his old protagonist.
And I think it's the Kawasaki, it's the Morawaki Kawasaki
again. Bad luck for the Morawaki team.
But that's McElnay who crashed. It was McElnay who crashed at the end of the straight, so we've got 2 riders down. McElnay's okay, he's up on the banking. Lost it under brakes at the end of the straight.
Well, McElnay, a man who hates this circuit, did not like it last year, would not ride hard. This time he was really going for it and has paid the penalty. There's McElnay with his machine.
Just having a look to see if he could possibly ride it and get a couple of points, but surely there's no chance of that now.
There's the Morawaki bike, still down. We'll try and identify whether it's Yatsushiro or Miyagi.
And Gardner up into 3rd place now as Phyllis hounds Johnson for the lead.
Both the Morawakis have already crashed at Oran Park this weekend. Yatsushiro on Saturday, Miyagi on Friday, when he almost rode off, well, in fact, did ride off the machine entirely.
And Dowson, number 1, under pressure from Middlemas.
And the news comes through that it's Kaoru Miyagi who's crashed the Morawaki.
And Middlemiss tries to go around the outside of Dowson. A very brave move, but very difficult to do so in that position, wouldn't you say,
yeah,
Malcolm?
It certainly would be. It's a long way around the outside on that particular corner.
Gardner ranging up in third position now, and Johnson trying to hold off Phyllis will slow them down to the degree that Gardner should find catching them no difficulty in the 12 laps.
I think Robbie Phillips would really have the bit between the teeth at the moment, trying to beat his arch rival Andrew on a bit more competitive bike. He'd be really going for it, I think. Wouldn't be too much worried about the win rather than sticking with Andrew.
Johnson last weekend concealed from team manager Clyde Wolfenden the fact that he had a broken left ankle, and by doing so got on the 500, went out and raced, therefore got points up on the board. So the Honda team is in a situation where it must leave Andrew on the bike even though his ankle is still broken. Had he revealed that ankle injury beforehand, Malcolm, would you have been on the RS 500?
Well, that's not really for me to speculate. I wouldn't like to comment on that. I may or may not have been.
You'd have liked to have been, though.
I would have liked to have been, yes.
But just watch the power of the Action Suzuki hanging on to this Grand Prix 500 Honda in front. That's Johnson on the Honda from the production-based 1000 Suzuki that Phyllis is riding. And Phyllis closing right up on the brakes.
The heavier bike, perhaps better suited to the bumpy Oran Park circuit, as now he comes out of the slipstream.
And did Johnson miss a gear there? It seems likely that he must have missed a gear because suddenly Phyllis got the jump on him.
I'd say so, yeah, coming up that short straight.
So Robbie Phyllis takes over the lead in the Swann Insurance Series, round 2, leg 1. There's the point score to date. Wayne Gardner and Rob McElnay leading the point score. Rob Phyllis had a rotten weekend at Calder. Tried 2 bikes, the Formula 1, sort of Formula 1 bike and his super bike, and failed to finish on in both legs on both bikes. So he has no points at all.
And the big Suzuki obviously being pressed very hard by Phyllis. He's be using all the revs and a little bit more. May have overstressed the engine. Smoking again.
Gardner now on the straight, let's see it, side by side, a 1:17.13, and there goes Gardner. And Wayne Gardner takes over the lead in the Swann Insurance Series, tied for equal points on 27 points with Rob McElnay. If he wins this race, it'll give him a clear lead in the Swann Insurance Series.
And Phyllis is no fool. Surely he will be more interested in trying to keep Johnson away now rather than repass Gardner, would you say, Malcolm?
It'd be hard to say. Robbie's a fairly cagey rider. I think if he can hang on to the tail of Gardner to the end of the race, we might see him putting a wheel in somewhere and trying to get past on the last lap.
And the 500 Honda bucking wildly there, and it looked as though Phyllis's heavier superbike made an easier job of running across the bumps than the lightweight Grand Prix.
7 laps down, 5 remaining.
So it's the 3-cylinder water-cooled 2-stroke of Wayne Gardner, the Honda, leading 1000cc air-cooled Suzuki of Phyllis. Gardner leads, and that bike that Phyllis is riding actually uses the magneto ignition system off a old Mercury outboard engine, so that the ignition system can be moved behind the cylinders and bring down the width of the engine to allow Phyllis to lean the bike over without the crankcases scraping on the ground. And that's Johnson, number 7, in 3rd place.
And from Johnson back to Middlemiss, there's 5.31 seconds. You can see it there. In fact, Middlemiss starting to close that gap. That's not a 5-second gap.
And Middlemiss put in a very quick 15.5 second, 1 minute 15.5 second practice lap. And he was the sensation of practice, really. And as Johnson tires, it looks as though Middlemiss will be able to reel him in.
The problem with Johnson's foot is that he can't rest it on the foot peg to any great degree, so he's really riding out of balance on the bike. And it's most tiring, especially on a circuit like this, where the bumps really do knock you about.
You could see Middlemiss's machine being shaken violently as he ran it across the ripples there. And Gardner leads, but not really pulling away from Phyllis.
.1 seconds is the gap from Johnson back to Middlemiss. question really, I guess, is Gardner comfortable where he is, or is he really under pressure from Robbie Phillips?
Phillips is really hanging in there, isn't he? The puffs of smoke seem to have disappeared again. So it must be still running okay. He doesn't seem to have dropped any speed at all.
Still sorting out the motorcycle, as you said earlier, Peter, to the degree that Rob found yesterday on the bumps of Oran Park, that under brakes, the front tyre was rubbing on the exhaust pipes, so they've modified the exhaust pipes overnight to keep them away from the front wheel.
And it's thanks to Action Suzuki that we've actually seen Phillips in this race at all, because before the series started he didn't have a bike to ride, and Rod Hunwick of Action Suzuki put the money up front for Chris Dow to build this bike. As we see Middlemiss closing on the men in front. Phillips down the start and finish straight ahead of Johnson.
Johnson lapping at 1 minute 17.03 seconds. So the pace is right on.
Gardner, very, very stylish.
Wayne Gardner starting to have a little bit of a play there with the front wheel, I think. He's probably doing it fairly easy, I'd say.
And definitely a man to watch out for in the Grand Prix next season.
Gardner's team has not been wasting its time. Between the Swann Insurance Series, they spoke to 5 potential sponsors for Wayne Gardner's international career last week, 2 of them liquor companies, and according to Barry Simmons, the team manager, at least a couple of those 5 are looking very strong indeed to give Australian sponsorship to a great young Australian sportsman in international competition. And wouldn't it be nice to see Wayne Gardner carrying some Australian company's banner overseas? 2.7 seconds now separates Andrew Johnson from Glenn Middlemiss, so Middlemiss closing the gap. Although whether it's because Middlemiss is going harder or Johnson's going slower is really a point to be asked.
And I saw Gardner finish a superb 3rd in this year's Swedish Grand Prix at Anderstorp behind the world champion Eddie Lawson and Raymond Roche, and that proved just what he could do in a Grand Prix. I'm sure we'll see a great deal more of him next year.
Less than 2.6 kilometres remaining around the Oran Park circuit for Wayne Gardner, going for his 2nd win in the Swann Insurance Motorcycle Series for 1984, and huge questions to be answered between now and the 2nd leg this afternoon. Mainly, can Rob McElnay get the Suzuki repaired in time to be a challenge to Gardner, and indeed to Andrew Johnson, in the 2nd heat later today? Because with only the 3rd round remaining at Surfers Paradise next weekend, McElnay can't afford to give away too many more points today. Half the circuit remaining for Wayne Gardner. And a superb effort from Rob Phillips behind him. Large crowd at Oran Park. Very much Gardner fans, because most of them have come from Wollongong to see their hometown hero, and Wayne Gardner takes the win in Heat 2, Leg 1 of the Swann Insurance Motorcycle Series from Rob Phillips, with Andrew Johnson picking up 10 points again in 3rd position. 4th in the race is Glenn Middlemiss, 5th John Pace, 6th Michael Dowson, 7th Rod Cox. 3 races down and 3 remaining in the 1984 Swann Series, and the leader at this stage is Wayne Gardner, comfortably on 42 points. But look at 2nd place, being fought out by Rob McElnay on 27 and with a bike damaged, Andrew Johnson on 26 with an ankle damaged, and Glenn Middlemiss sitting pretty on 24 points. Then comes Michael Dowson on the TZ 750 Yamaha on 20 points, from John Pace 13, Rob Phillips on 12, his first points in the series, Malcolm Campbell now out of the series on 9 points, Shunzi Yatsushiro with his co-rider Miyagi hurt and in the ambulance on 7 points, Kevin McGee on the big Ducati 4, and Paul Idden on 4 points.